In what way does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? The opening shot in the film Contact was certainly an inspiration. We had an idea of shooting our scene involving Tyler's flashback in a similar way by zooming in on the eyes. However, we didn't want to copy it, and we felt like another way would make it too cliched. Therefore, we decided that less is more, but it was definitely an inspiration, since that's where we got the idea of filming the return to the present day on Tyler's face. Thrillers are conventionally fast-paced with a lively tempo. We had to conform to the genre to make it believable, and the tease thriller for the film Minority Report was a big influence because of the pace, but more so because of the fast cuts and quick shots that dominate the end. The audience is shown gruesome images of things such as repulsive animals and people being tied up, and we wanted to edit the murder and chase scenes in a similar way. We did in parts, and although we did slow it down in points, the faster sections were definitely influenced by this film. We both conformed to and broke many gender stereotypes during our teaser trailer. We conform in portraying the women as frail and vulnerable. Both our women are victims and are ultimately killed, again typical in all film genres. There is a massive counter-type with our main character. He is seen throughout as being poor and vulnerable in terms of what he wears, his situation, and the fear he shows in his acting. He is a sort of tragic hero, drawing parallels from characters such as Charlie Bucket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Sam Tyler in Life on Mars. The latter was a particular inspiration since he is shown to be a likeable, heroic character, but one that does show fear throughout the series. There are direct similarities between Sam and our character in terms of performance when it appears Sam will be killed by a hostage taker in one particular episode. Both visibly heavy breathe and heavily sweat, as well as reveal their extreme panic through their facial expressions. This was definitely an inspiration, with both that scene in our film depicting men in ways that is unusual in thrillers and action-based TV dramas. That episode also produces another subtle stereotype earlier on. Gene Hunt bemoans the journalist who arrives at the scene in typical Gov style.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, sir. Can you go back behind the cordon, please?
Hugo Barton, I'm a reporter from the Gazette.
Oh, terrific.
Aye, we've got another one for you.
Gov.
He walked in about 40 minutes ago. He was just ahead of me. Pulled a gun. He means business.
You know, I listen to the snot in my hanky before I listen to you.
OK, brief me. Hostages' names?
He's our editor, George Bates, one of our reporters, Jackie.
Jackie Queen.
I think Doris is in there too. She's George's secretary.
Did you recognise the hostage taker?
His face rang a bell, but I wouldn't want to guess at it. Sticklers for the facts on the Gazette.
You sure you boys aren't blowing us up out of all proportion? Because it's a slow news day. I know you journos.
And they know you, Mr. Hunt.
Generally, journalists in films and TV are seen by other characters as highly irritating and suspicious, but we wanted to get away from this depiction in our film, instead having our main character appearing reliant on one, a break from the normal stereotype. The murderer and boss generally submit to their stereotypes. They are seen as being cold and ruthless throughout their dark costume, and their violence fits the typical aggressive male character. However, we made the boss undo his top button, as this indicates a suave and cleverness to go with the hazardous, unforgiving nature of what he does. We were inspired by both the costume and the character of Norman Stansfield from Leon, the Professional. He wears his shirt with his button undone in the same way, and his fascination for classical music is revealed throughout the film. This generally indicates his higher class, more intelligent status from the outside of society, something that we wanted to portray during our characterisation of the main antagonist to add more complexity and intrigue to this character. In contrast, Tyler's costume had to be much more ripped and dirty to symbolise his desperate state as well as low position in society. Our costume design was similar to Leonardo DiCaprio's character in The Revenant in terms of being dark, heavily ripped and generally incredibly poor. This was the biggest costume inspiration and eventual similarity between us and any other film, although Lawless did come pretty close. But they didn't have the same drastically poor look that both ours and The Revenant did. When it came to sound, we took initial inspiration from teaser trailers for films such as Morgan and Don't Breathe because of their clever use of diegetic and non-diegetic elements, the use of silence, as well as effectively creating different atmospheres through the various tones and tempo that their music was in. However, as a group, we were really inspired by background music from the teaser trailer of the film Hercules. It created lots of good contrasting atmospheres in terms of the boom sounds that they came up with, as well as the fact that the music makes you feel nervous when it's both fast and slow. The succession of fast cut shots alongside the louder, more robust music is similar to the effect we wanted to create in the stabbing stroke newspaper scene that leads on to the final chase. The only difference is that they kept the music fast even when there is a break in the main dramatic action when a character kisses a woman. But we toned ours down when we cut to the scene between Tyler's character and the newspaper journalist, which is much slower. Therefore, we dampened some of the intended edginess that we wanted an audience to feel just prior to this.
Are you only the legend, or are you the truth? Behind the legend.